Thank you. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. I am Margie, the Executive Director of Environment America, and I'll be emceeing our event. Let me start by welcoming you. Thank you for coming, and we will get on with the program here. I mean, obviously, what's happening in the Gulf right now is a heartbreaking tragedy, and whether you look at the 11 workers who were killed, or the devastation of the tourism and fishing industries, or the impact on the coastal communities, there's a lot to be sad about. Also, if you look at the ecological damage, whether it is the sea turtles and the birds starting to wash up, or the unseen ecological damage that we're anticipating from devastating one of the most productive coastal areas in the world, it's both sad and something that makes us quite angry, in fact. But as tragic as this accident is, I have to say it's not totally unexpected. The reality is, drilling is dirty and dangerous business, especially so deep down and so close to our shores. Bottom line, if you drill, eventually you're gonna spill. And anyone from oil executives to politicians who tell us otherwise are either kidding themselves or trying to pull one over on the American public. And that's why, until we break our dependence on oil, we are like babysitters leaving the kids alone at home with a book of matches. But that's why we're here today. Hoping for the best is not enough. We need to do everything we can to stop the spill. What you see behind us is video from the Gulf, and we are very hopeful that the efforts today to plug the gusher are going to be successful. But we have to do more. Most importantly, we need to put ourselves firmly and boldly on the path to reducing our dependence on oil, to unleashing the clean energy economy, and to capping global warming pollution. If not now, when? So let me introduce some of our esteemed speakers who are with us today. I'm going to introduce everybody, folks will speak, and then we'll come back and moderate some questions and answers for people. The speakers will be as follows. Kevin Knobloch, the president of Union of Concerned Scientists, will be speaking first. Then Lieutenant General Castelaw, retired from the U.S. Marine Corps. Mindy Luber, the president of Ceres. And we'll wrap up with Gene Karpinski, the president of the League of Conservation Voters.
Thank you, Margie. Thank you all for being here. In the wake of this heartbreaking tragedy that is unfolding almost in slow motion, but with devastating impacts, Americans overwhelmingly favor solutions that will reduce our oil use. They are hungry for a direct, bold response to the oil disaster that dramatically reduces our oil consumption, regardless of where the oil comes from. We need Congress to pass and send to the President comprehensive climate and energy legislation that includes a strong title that will both address the immediate crisis in the Gulf of Mexico and tackle the systemic problem of dependence on oil by crafting and enacting a national oil savings plan. Americans today, as a nation, we consume 20 million barrels of oil a day. And we think that on top of the 2 to 3 million barrels that we've locked in by the President's leadership and the Congress's leadership on national vehicle standards and on the renewable fuel standard, that in addition to those 2 or 3 million barrels a day, that we can, by the year 2030, achieve an additional at least 7 million barrels a day in oil savings. Add those two together, you get halfway to eliminating our dependence on oil. As I say, the President and the Congress over the last couple of years, they've taken some strong steps, but this opening right here, this is demanding that we take it dramatically farther. And we can do that with known technologies, both to go much farther on vehicle standards, fuel efficiency standards for existing vehicles, for heavy-duty rigs, a very aggressive advanced biofuels agenda, looking at industrial and building efficiency, at air, rail, shipping, and so on. We have the technologies, and perhaps in the face of this terrible crisis, we can find the political will and the political leadership to get it done. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm John Castello. I'm with the organization called Operation Free. It's a group of veterans who, like me, many of them have seen the threat that our dependence on oil poses for the security of the United States. We see this dependency as threatening the economic and military leadership that we've enjoyed for so long. As a result of that, we support going with reduction and elimination of our dependence on oil and the creation and introduction of clean energy. I think if you look at the Department of Defense now and the services, that we're in the lead. We're reducing our carbon footprint, we're utilizing alternate energy, and we have a very, very robust effort to continue to develop alternative energy. We do this because, as General Jim Mattis, a Marine who's the commander of the Joint Forces Command, said, we are sort of lassoed to fuel now. We need to eliminate that dependence on it because it has a tactical and strategic impact on our ability to ensure the security of this great nation of ours. So we will continue to push for a comprehensive energy legislation to be passed in order to bring this great nation together in order to move ahead to eliminate our dependence on oil. And we ask President Obama and the Congress of the United States to move ahead now. As you see, the infrastructure, the oil infrastructure that exists now is vulnerable to man-made as well as natural actions. And it is time to get past this. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you to my colleagues and to all of you for being here. My name is Mindy Luber. I'm the president of an organization called Ceres, a leading group of investors and environmental groups working with companies across the country and around the world to address sustainability challenges such as climate change. I also direct the Investor Network on Climate Risk, a network of 80+ institutional investors with $8 trillion of collective assets focused on the financial impacts of climate change and acting on it now rather than later. We also work with 24 large consumer-facing companies like Nike, Best Buy, Levi Strauss. This is not a list to give me a lot of good friends. It is a clear sentiment that the largest investors in the world and some of the largest multinational companies understand and are here with us today in our sentiment that acting on climate needs to happen now, needs to be comprehensive, and needs to move forward in this Congress.